Do that, let me introduce a person that is very special for me. I have to say that I will not be here if it wasn't for this lady. So backwards 6 years ago, I was like many of you. I didn't know what to do. I was in IT. I wanted to transition to cybersecurity. Didn't know what to do, how to start, where to start. So I have a friend in common. He used to work with me. Then eventually he started working with her, and somehow I found her on LinkedIn and sent her a message and say, I would like to take you to lunch because I saw that you have many certifications. You're already working in the field, and your background is very impressive. And I just want to be like you. And she accepted the lunch, and the rest is history. But again, I will not be standing here if it wasn't for her. 6 years ago, I was in a different place. I was without a job. I was not in the field. I was just barely finishing my master's, and I didn't know what to do. But she put me to the right direction, and just like me, there's many mentees that she has done throughout the years. So, I don't know what else to say. Thank you. Thank you.
You did the work.
No, thank you. All right, Heather Hall, thank you.
So, thank you for joining us today. As Marco mentioned, I'm Heather Hall, and I'm a demand and delivery manager in Brett for Optiv, which is a full source end-to-end cybersecurity company. We're more than a VAR. Let me introduce myself. I've got over 22 years in IT, and over 15 specialized in security. I've got a lot of certifications, many of them earned while training as a cyber warrant officer for the Army. I reside in Reno, Nevada area, and I've been with Optiv for just over a year. Prior to that, I worked for the largest privately owned company in the United States. I've also worked for a casino conglomerate, a niche market for a private wealthy family. And before joining Optiv, I worked as a security operations manager for a workman's compensation insurance company. I also spent 22 years supporting state and federal agencies. In this talk, I'm going to walk you through my story and provide you with 4 tips to expand your network and hopefully your opportunities. There's a crib sheet available, so relax and enjoy. I'll answer any questions after the talk. So early last year, I realized that although I loved my work, my team, and adored my boss, I was ready for change. I wasn't just willing to quiet quit. I wasn't jumping on the Great Resignation bandwagon like 4.5 million people have done. I was simply ready for a new culture and work-life balance. There are at least, last count, over 500,000 open cyber roles. And in 8 months, I reached out to probably around 100 different companies. I submitted around 150 different resumes that were all tailored for roles that I was interested in. Even with the research and thoughtful application, I felt like I was just throwing darts blind. There's no feedback loop for your resume. Like, there's nobody telling you where it's at, you don't know who's looking at it. The response I got was limited and really nerve-wracking. At some point, you may find yourself sending out hundreds of resumes and, like me, not getting the response you had hoped. On paper, I think I look pretty good. Actually, I'm stunning. I have a CV that makes people stop and stare, but I wasn't getting the response I had hoped. I watched and applied Jason Blanchard's method of hacking your resume. I shortened and lengthened my resume. I wrote stunning cover letters. I made sure my LinkedIn profile was the end all be all. But there were no calls. I was working with a company called Possibly. Michelle and Amy helped me revise my resume, update my LinkedIn profile, and created a brand. We brainstormed what I wanted to do next. We wrote vision and mission statements. All of it was great. I enjoyed the guidance, but there were no calls. Michelle offered to introduce me to some of her connections, and I was reluctant, and I turned her down for the time being. I had a recruiting company reach out and ask me to apply for a role with a startup. They wanted me to be their CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. I was pumped. I had this in the bag. I interviewed multiple times. I took calls on weekends to woo this company, and then I was ghosted. No email, text, call, nothing. I had another recruiter reach out, and I was hesitant, but at least the last one managed to get me an interview. The company was a dream. They had the culture that I was looking for. They cared about the environment. They had all around great package. My first interview was stunning. I enjoyed the conversation. I felt like I connected with the team. At the second interview, I learned that I was pushed to the last stage. As I was the last 2 out of 427 applicants for this role. I was left with 2. I didn't get the job because I didn't have enough environmental experience. How is it that a person that holds a master's and 14 certifications in cyber not given the job? I may never know, but what I do know is there's a different way. There's a better way. I reported back to my friends, Michelle and Amy at Possibly, and I took them up on making an introduction to their friends. William Young was someone to know at Octave. He was important. Thanks to Michelle, he freed up 30 minutes of his schedule for me. He told me what he was looking for. I listened to what Octave was bringing to the market, and I wanted to be part of his vision. I also let him know that I was excited, that I was interested in the role. The interaction with Bill was like a pre-interview. It had taken away the need for the typical first couple interviews. It was to figure out who I was or what the company was. After that, I had 3 interviews. The first was with the recruiter, second with the technical team, which I almost bombed because I wasn't willing to say that I didn't remember how to remediate cross-site scripting. My saving grace was that at the end, when I said, I don't think I got that question right. I was honest. That statement saved me. The last interview was a presentation on tabletops, and I killed it. I got the job. The job at Optiv, ironically, was similar to a role that I had applied for previously at the same company. I still have that denial email. Michelle possibly was the catalyst for this first interview. Her willingness to connect me with Bill opened a door that I didn't even know it existed. Let me clarify something. My interaction with Bill did not get me a job. I got myself the job. But his interaction helped me bypass a few steps, as my first call with the recruiter was about logistics instead of discussing and describing the role. After that experience, I started analyzing all the roles and opportunities that I had over the years. And I'm boldly going to state that they all of them were due to networking. The babysitting gig that I got at 12, I got through my parents. Networking. The hourly gig at various fast food joints were through connections that referred me. Networking. Joining the Army and going on active duty was because I didn't send dial tone to the recruiter. Networking. After 4 years in the Army, I hopped all my gear. I set out to earn $30,000. I was 22. I thought that I knew everything. I thought I was gonna rock this job search. I had a few leads with companies in San Diego, but I wanted to stay in the Reno area. My first job after the Army was at the El Dorado Resort and Casino, which after I got the job because I attended a job fair that a friend had told me about. Networking. As I worked my way through the ins and outs of the AS400 at the casino, the Army stopped paying me 69 days of leave that I had earned. This is where the Army pulled me back in. I think it was their plan all along because the finance person in the Guard helped me fix my pay and then referred me to the recruiter that enlisted me back in the National Guard. You guessed it. Networking. The suggestion by my captain to apply for a role with the Nevada National Guard is the point where I tell people I started my professional career. He was the lead that started a 15-year career as a technician with the Nevada Army National Guard. As I look back on that opportunity, I realized that I would have never known that the role had existed, nor how to apply, as the application process, the government application process, is lengthy and rewarding. As I toiled along in my career as a full-time civil servant and a part-time soldier, opportunities to lead teams, attend training, and challenge my own personal knowledge rolled by. I grabbed them often. Networking. Some of the opportunities that came up were last minute. I was asked to lead a team in Korea for our annual Signal event. My soldiers got to gain knowledge about signal systems, where I got to work alongside active duty peers that were miles away from the Korean DMZ. Areas of growth were in operation security, intel tracking, and Korean culture. Networking. My most notable step into the cyber arena was through a captain that I had interacted with briefly. He called on a Thursday, asking me if I wanted to attend CISSP training. Does anyone know what that stands for? Yeah, Certified Information Systems Security Professional. I still have to Google it sometimes. I had to take a 40-hour course and pass a 120 question test before even getting on the plane on Sunday. I'll tell you, sometimes when you take a test 5 times in a row, you happen to learn something. I was told that these 5 letters were worth it. So I caffeinated up, fluffed my way through the prerequisites. CISSP boot camp was 2 weeks, 16-hour days, and a culmination of 200+ hours of learning, cramming. I had a stack of 3x5 cards like this. Passing CISSP exam with a number 2 pencil and a Scantron wasn't easy, but opened doors for future opportunities. Those opportunities, like many, were due to networking. I was asked and selected to attend cyber warrant officer training, where I received industry training from 11 SANS content creators. SANS is a leader in cybersecurity training. I had the opportunity to challenge and achieve 7 SANS certifications due to someone recommending me to attend this training. I will never know who that person was, but it too was due to networking. In the military, a network of peers comes naturally. You meet people over training and courses, deployments and drills that bond you with hundreds of people for a lifetime. Even people that you don't know that also serve will give you the shirt off their back. When I left the military, my husband, Karsten, didn't get why I needed to hang out and meet with people. I told him that my boss, Antonio Rucci, Tony, said that networking is how I'm going to get ahead in this business world. He also says that data breaches will happen and how you respond to it defines your company. Tony's right again on both accounts. And I remember the people that I met that night that my husband questioned the networking engagement. I keep in touch with them. Still, to this day, we help each other out over the years. Networking may not get you an immediate result. However, it lasts a lifetime. The gig that lured me away from the Nevada National Guard was brought to me by soldiers that I had deployed with. I had trained these soldiers. I'd worked with them alongside them for years. Their advisement is what led me to entertain leaving the cushy gig as a civil servant. The title of director of operations and salary increase of 25%. And the opportunity to work with my friends and use my cyber training was a perk. And an easy choice. When that role came to an end, our boss, Tony, networked for us. He reached out to different organizations. And most of the team ended up at Coke, the brothers, not the soda. I got a role programming the global SIM, using use cases, creating use cases, helping in the response to incidences, and working to make detection manageable. If only it had Cribble. Yeah, that experience probably would have been better. The work was awesome, but the culture was not my stick. It was not my cup of tea. So I called Tony. He again came to my rescue and linked me up with a consultant role, where I got to introduce to the client's board of the directors as the only cybersecurity person for miles, and not looking old enough to know anything about security. I worked long hours to secure the environment of a large casino chain. My contract was about to renew when I got a call from a former client. This client I had met years prior when I had worked for the startup. Networking is how I landed a role in a niche market as a logical and physical cybersecurity person for a wealthy family. It was a cool gig. I had a front row view at times of Lake Tahoe that was along with the freedom and trust to make sure that the family and their assets were secure. I built out a virtual environment. I made sure all the devices were secure, that even the 5-year-old could recognize and respond to threats. And legit, I took to Tesla. On the way to work one morning, that was the event that made the gig at the lake less appealing. I reached out to my network once again, and they came through. My resume landed in the hands of a CISO for a workman's compensation insurance company. He was looking for an information security manager, and I fit the bill. I worked alongside one of the most talented CISOs I've ever earned or had the privilege to work for and meet. Burt Carroll taught me about risk. I learned MITRE, set up data loss prevention, vulnerability management programs, third-party risk, and managed the penetration testing team. I became Mr. Human Error on Halloween after a company-wide security training launch. Side note, if you don't know who Human Error is, Google that shit. The training and the videos are some of my favorites. Adding humor to what can be a very standoff and draining subject while interacting with people I secured and trained helped me build a network. I was the first call when someone thought an email looked fishy. I was the person the team reached out to to bounce ideas off of, on all kinds of things, be it how to build a virtual environment or a security program. I've made myself accessible. I shared the subject of this talk on my job hunting experience with a peer of mine the other day. And he asked me if I knew why I never got a call back. Naturally, I said, no. I'm paraphrasing here. He stated that people do not want to hire someone that may one day take their job. That they make them feel less smart. We're in a hard position. People that know more about a role than they do. He shared his experience about literally being told that he wasn't being hired because he had made the hiring manager nervous. My friend has a lot of connections, multiple degrees, patents, certifications. He's not gonna tell you this, but he is the smartest dude in the room. He should just tell everybody that at first note. Let that sink in for a second. You have taken on a career in a field that is unknown, but all but a very small percentage of the population. Of the over 334 million people in the United States and nearly 8 billion people globally, less than 1 million are employed in cybersecurity designated roles. Oddly, the knowledge that you guys hold is needed in every household, business, and government entity. It's likely that the person reviewing your resume will not know that CISSP and GSEC, GIAC, Global Information Assurance Certification in Security Essentials, prove the same type of knowledge. They're practically the same and validate the same knowledge. The people writing the ad for the latest cyber role, as Travis had mentioned, is he still here? May not know that there are less than 500 people that hold a GSC, a GIAC Security Expert certification, let alone what knowledge it takes to even obtain that achievement. They also don't know that CISSP is not an entry-level certification, as it takes passing 100 to 150 question exam and having at least 5 years of cumulative knowledge in a paid position, paid work experience, or 2 or more of the 8 domains in the CISSP common body of knowledge. I was recently asked to what led me to where I am. I thought about it, and my answer was, I have never passed up on an opportunity to introduce myself, never passed up on an invite to meet people, to have lunch. Before you set out to meet people with the goal of networking, there are 4 things that I would like for you to do. First, I suggest you polish your elevator speech. This is a brief 1 minute spiel with the intent to spark more conversation with a little bit about what you do. Mine goes something like this. Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a DoD trained hacker with too many certs to name. I have decades of experience securing environments of companies like yours. I'm skilled in data loss prevention, vulnerability and management, security awareness, and can take the results of an assessment and correlate that to risk for the business for remediation and board level discussions. I can empathize with the plight of your security teams and would love to serve you in growing your business. I pause. Hand over my business card. And then listen. I listen with the intent to learn, not to convince or teach. Second, before engaging in an introduction, I suggest you make sure your LinkedIn and CV are ready for prime time. I say CV, curriculum vitae, Latin for course of life, intentionally, as it is the document that you're going to use to tailor your resume for the role or opportunity that you're shooting for. The LinkedIn profile can be something that people can become hyper-focused. While it's not a CV, inconsistencies between the two can trigger more digging or can be off-putting. Third, please, for all that is holy, Google yourself from the lens of a prospective employer. What secrets does the internet hold about you? Does your TikTok need to be cleaned up? Or your Instagram need to be moved to a private account?
Incognito window too, because your own catch will give you obscurable.
Incognito. You want to look at your personal brand for what the world sees. Networking doesn't have to be standing in a room wondering how you're gonna survive this experience and get out of there. I've been there. I'm not a fan. I'm actually sort of an introvert. I know that's hard to believe. If you find yourself in an environment, take a friend, bring up a little buddy. That way you can team up with the help to make the experience more enjoyable. Networking can also be you reaching out to someone on LinkedIn and asking them for informational interview or mentorship. Let me give you some ideas on how to find email or individuals to connect on LinkedIn. A search for Cyber Mentor pulled up around 116 people with the description in their title. I've also found groups that focus on mentorship and cybersecurity. Mentor and mentee, men and women in cybersecurity, a group to share and train, involve, empower, and mentor others that are looking to be mentored in cybersecurity. Augustus Redefined is an organization founded to support and mentor and encourage Black women in cybersecurity Cyber Mentor Dojo, a platform to enable students to find a mentor to help create a path into cybersecurity. Cyber Jobs Hunting, a place for anyone to come to find work and network and peers from across the globe. And obviously, we've got the Hacker Dojo. You're already here. The fourth item is that once you've identified the person or group to connect with, I advise that you come to the conversation with the mindset to learn. Learn what they are looking for to grow their company. Learn what type of person they are looking to connect with. And the culture of that company. People want to be around people that make them feel comfortable, at ease, and able to be themselves. Make a conscious effort to treat everyone as if they are the only conversation. Towards the end of that conversation, ask one or both of these following questions. Are there any skills that you think I can work on to be a good fit for your team? Do you think I'm someone that would be a good addition to your team? Can we set up a time to discuss? Both questions show that you are interested in their guidance, working with them, and are humble enough to improve your skills. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that Optiv currently has a few roles open in our threat practice. Bill Young, the very VP that opened the door for me, stated that he's looking for self-starters that have the initiative to learn. Google says there is 500,000 cyber roles open globally, and the world's your oyster. When you get frustrated because the phone's not ringing, the emails aren't coming in, change your mindset. Pick out a nice outfit, clean underneath your nails, and get ready to start networking. Lastly, hi, I'm Heather. Let's network. I would learn to love more about you. Thank you.